Welcome to the Time to Talk podcast. It is time to talk. No, we're not talking Yankees. I'm a little upset about that. But anyway, last night's game. Really upset about that. But anyway, so we got Donald Trump does Joe Rogan. Hooray, right? I was looking forward to that. I think I spoke about it and wondering how that was going to last, how that was going to work, and whether or not Trump would actually sit down for 2 hours, right? The average length of a Rogan episode. He actually sat down for about 3 hours. So I was kind of impressed with that. We got Beyonce, right? It's all woohoo for Beyonce and the women last night with Kamala Harris in Houston, Texas. So let's talk about that. I don't know where to begin with the Kamala Harris and Beyonce thing, right? It's just, first she comes out with Kelly Rowland, right? And Kelly Rowland comes out with a suit, right? Like this oversized sort of David Byrne, Talking Heads kind of oversized suit with Beyonce holding hands. Now that was very intentional, right? So you know they're pandering to the they them crowd, the transgender whole thing, and they're just trying to make that a thing. Don't think that's a mistake that they came out holding hands and one looked like a man and one looked like a woman. Don't even make that mistake. As beautiful as Kelly Rowland is, right? And I'm not suggesting anything about Kelly Rowland and Beyonce. I'm simply pointing out the obvious optics of what this looked like. So it just seemed. I mean, if you look at it, let's take a quick. All right. Look, first of all, let's talk about Kelly Rowland, right? So the theme that Kelly Rowland, or a couple of times she repeated this line of, we're taking the pen of those writing a story of division and hatred. I just thought that taking the pen was an interesting choice of words, considering that, again, it's the Democrats. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I remind you that it's the Democrats, Harris included, she's part of that whole machine, that are actively working to suppress and censor free speech and people online and their voices and their opinions, and especially when they totally express any kind of dissent, right? This is what the Democratic Party has become. This is like their central number one theme, that and going to war, right? Killing brown people. That's like their number one, those are their top priorities. And she's talking about taking the pen of those writing a story of division, okay? Grabbing back the pen was another statement. We're grabbing back the pen. And I just thought that was a little whatever. The whole thing's such a phony mess. I just can't. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest political phony scams in the history of politics. How they roll out Beyonce and make this huge production as if Kamala Harris is this very well-loved politician that's been around for years and it's finally her time. I could see that with Hillary Clinton, another war criminal, but I can see Hillary Clinton back then. I voted for Hillary Clinton back then. You can feel the love, right? Because she's been in politics for a long time. It was like she kind of waited her turn. Her husband was president. You feel like, okay, Hillary, this is her time and everyone's going to be behind her. She had a track record, whether you loved her or hated her, whether you knew she was a criminal or not a criminal. I'm not even discussing that. I'm just simply pointing out Hillary Clinton at that point was a beloved figure by many and a very highly respected politician, right? So, yeah, she had her detractors. She had the people who didn't believe in her, and she had the people who knew she was a war criminal even back then. But she was regarded as this thing. So when she came out to a crowd, it made sense that there were so many people behind her. When Obama ran, Obama being the first legitimate black, again, we'll get, that's a whole nother thing about how his blackness, being raised in Indonesia and Hawaii with white people and not really having any black experience whatsoever, except when it was convenient. But technically speaking, at that particular point, first man of color, first black man to become president. And when he spoke at the DNC, prior to him running when he was a senator, and then when he actually ran for president in that whole Hope campaign, it was just a thing to get behind him because he was an incredible orator. You know, I've spoken about that on this channel before. He was an incredibly gifted man when it came to just being that representation of a politician and someone you wanted to get behind, someone you believed that he made you believe. He made you believe in hope, and you could feel it. The groundswell and the amount of people that he brought together was incredible. You could actually feel that. Kamala Harris. No one voted for this woman. She dropped out of the race previously, 2019. She couldn't get the votes. She did nothing. She dropped out. She was an embarrassment. She was totally unpopular. She had nothing. Then she becomes vice president magically, and still nothing. I'm not going to discuss her policies and what she could and couldn't do with the border and whether she was called the border czar or not the border czar, whether it was her. I'm not even getting into that. Just the fact that even months ago when this woman was vice president, no one gave a damn. It's not like she had this reputation as like, wow, one day that Kamala, yeah, she might be president. Yeah, hey, Kamala Harris, don't sleep. Yeah, she's good. She's done a lot of work. She's really been. No one cared. No one, even the people toting the flag right now, I'm with her, yeah, the black woman. Even those people have to admit to themselves that this woman was nobody. Like, scratch your head and ask yourself, were you thinking about Kamala Harris prior to all this? You weren't. You had no idea. Most of you didn't even know who the vice president was. Get out of here. And now all of a sudden, Megan Thee Stallion, this one, that one, they orchestrated the most elaborate media sensation like of all time to promote somebody that is totally useless. It is like watching a Hollywood movie where they take a person with zero talent and they figure out a way to promote them using all sorts of media things and paparazzi and creating this narrative that this person is a superstar and everyone falls for it. And these people are so gullible. The Democrats and the people who are voting for Harris and who are getting behind all this are so ridiculously gullible that it's just insane. I feel bad for you people. I really do. I actually feel bad because you watch this and you see Beyonce come out. Beyonce's Beyonce, and you've got all these people, and it's just amazing. And she's standing up there as if she's like some incredible public figure. Kamala Harris gets out there. She acts like she's this amazing woman with all this stuff. She's nothing. She's nobody. Speaking off a teleprompter. I just thought it was hysterical. And mind you, she spent the entire time there basically talking about abortion and women's rights, which I'm for. Okay, so let's just cut that. I don't want to be accused of one way or the other. I mean, my personal position is a woman should have the right to do what a woman wants to do with her body. It's not for the government or for a man to tell that to women. That's my personal position. Okay, I'm just pointing out the fact that the entire rally that she did was all female-centric, body positivity, sort of, abortion and prenatal care, all these things, but not a single thing about the economy, our wars, getting the country together. She just made it seem like it was just ridiculous. And then there was something else. There was another note that I had. It's time to sing a new song, and a new American song. Well, what are the lyrics for that song? Tell us the lyrics. Tell us the lyrics for the song. What? It's time for a new American song. And then you have people in the background. We're not going back. We're not going back to what? To what? To your administration and a lousy economy and inflation? What are we not going back to? I'm just not clear. Because again, no support for Trump now. I'm just saying, when Trump was president for 4 years, we weren't in 2 wars, 3 wars, possibly on the brink of nuclear Armageddon and World War III. It wasn't happening. We could debate why that is and whether it's true to a certain degree and extent, or what he did with Iran and how things could have turned out. But bottom line is, we didn't have these problems. All right, it's not as bad as people. We weren't locked up. Nobody was. Slavery didn't come back. We didn't put people in concentration camps. None of this. So this idea that we're going back, we're not going back. Not going back to what? Not going back to what? The Beyonce thing and the whole, whatever. It's just a little. It's ridiculous. Let's move on to Trump on Rogan. Trump on Rogan. I just wanted to see how Joe was going to handle him. I was kind of impressed because Joe just handled him like any dude. I was also wondering if Joe would actually be in a suit. Like, is he going to put on a suit for the president, for Donald Trump? He didn't. Put on a black shirt. Put on a button down. He wasn't sitting in one of his Pink Floyd t-shirts, but he in a black button down, whatever. But he was still, I thought he was kind of, he had moments where he pushed back. He was like, no, I want to get back to this. No, I want to ask you this. No, just answer this question. Like, he really did. Nothing substantial. It wasn't like real hard hitting questions or making him uncomfortable where he had to answer something regarding policy. It was kind of softball, but it was what it was, and I was impressed with it to a certain degree. We talked about the tariff thing, and when he did this on PBD podcast, Trump, where he talked about the word tariff, it's the greatest word in the dictionary. I like it more than the word love. I wanted to hear Joe go, oh, come on, more than the word love, we need love. I wanted to hear Joe say that, and he didn't. He let him ramble on about how, it's the most beautiful word in the world. Joe did ask him about the scar in his ear. He was like, yeah, you got shot. Let me see that scar. Like, he's like a slight amount of questioning. I don't think he questioned but to a degree, I think a lot of people who have questioned, like, well, where's that scar? His ear looks perfect. Joe was like, let me see. No, let me see. So I thought that was interesting. What it was is what it was. He did mention the fact that there was an enemy within, and Trump talked about that, and the election stuff, and they talked about mostly tariffs, and then they got into UFC and fighting and all these different things, and it was what it was. 3 hours, kind of impressed. I thought Trump handled himself relatively well. He was kind of calm and kind of just sat there and did his thing and looked good, and he did what he did. You're either with him or you're not with him. I don't know. Again, the substance of his answers are equally as lacking as Harris's when they're actually asked, right? He just kind of drills on about stories, and then he talked about what I thought was interesting. He called her low IQ, and she's not very bright, which I sort of agree with. And he said that he thinks all presidential candidates should have to take a test. They should have to pass a test, a cognitive test. And I'm like, IQ test or a cognitive test? Because I'm like, dude, you probably wouldn't do too well in a test either, considering your vocabulary, lack thereof, and how you like handle yourself when you're speaking. Like, you're not much, you guys are like two fifth graders. So it's not like you're way up here when it comes to your language skills and how you articulate your ideas and put forth your policy suggestions and how you describe your political, you don't have, which neither of you are geniuses. So I thought that was interesting. But anyway, all right, so that's it. That's it. I wanted to get on and talk about it. The Yankees lost last night to the Dodgers, and I want to talk about Beyonce, and I want to talk about Trump on Rogan, and I figured I'd get this up for you guys to take a look at. Let me know, what did you see Beyonce last night? Did you watch this? What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on Kelly Rowland and her coming out together and the whole suit thing? And what do you guys think about Trump on Rogan? Did you watch that whole thing yet? I had to put it on like faster speed just to get through it. Which is a good idea sometimes, especially when you're in a rush. I wanted to get this up, so I had to watch the Rogan interview kind of fast. Anyway, let me know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel. We got much more content coming, much more things happening, and guests coming on eventually. And hit the like button on the way out. I really appreciate it. If you've not subscribed, and you can follow us on X and follow us on TikTok, whatever, you can follow us there. And I'll see you on the next Time to Talk podcast. Peace.